Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I'm Michael Pachter, your host. If you're joining as a Patreon patron, thank you so much for your patronage. Same for our YouTube subscribers. If you are doing either of those or not, please try to remember to link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. There are instructions on how to do that in the show description right below. And you have to re-up that every month or two. So just if you haven't done it in a while, please re-link, and we get paid by Amazon. Costs you absolutely nothing. You are taking advantage of your annual subscription to Prime, and Amazon's paying and you pay nothing. So it's a great deal. If you're doing neither of those or any of those, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Follow me on Blue Sky at Michael Pachter. Today's question from Sifted from Khalib Tweli. What impact do you think all the game development layoffs will have in the coming years? We see fewer games, worse games, or no effect at all. There are a bunch of different ways to make games and exploit the market and charge for your content. There's obviously the cinematic experience where you pay $70 for a game, and it's a big proposition. There's the in-app purchase at the other end of the spectrum, free game, where you just charge people if they want to advance more quickly, and then everything else in between. And there are kind of infinite iterations in between. $15 for Stardew Valley or 20, whatever it was. There are smaller games that are fun. There are games that fail and try to charge you, like Concord, and have an ongoing in-app purchase, and that didn't work. There are games that charge you, like EA Sports Football Club, and have ongoing Ultimate Team. For whatever reason, that does work. But I think that ultimately, what the publishers are concluding is it costs a lot to make all these games. We have to get a return on it. So we've got to pick our spots. And so the necessary outcome of those choices is they're going to take fewer bets. They're going to make fewer bets. They're going to say, we know Call of Duty works, so we're going to make Call of Duty in perpetuity. I think you'll see EA say, Call of Duty works so well for Activision, we're going to make Battlefield annually. Not next year or the year after, but in the next 10 years. I think you will see a second Battlefield studio emerge, and a third. And I say that knowing that there are 4 studios working on this year's Battlefield. But I think that they will take 2 or 3 of those and give them their own Battlefield franchise. So it'll be like the old Infinity Ward and Treyarch, we're working on 2. Then they added Sledgehammer to have 3 studios working on it. I think you're going to get that at EA. And so is that good for the industry? Well, it's good that EA is going to be stable and profitable and keep people employed. It's bad if you're working on the smaller stuff, Will they take chances anymore on games like Anthem? No. More Dragon Age, more Mass Effect. I don't think they try new stuff. I think that's hard for them. And so if we don't see creativity, then I think the answer is you're going to get fewer games, period. I think we're going to get sequels, and more sequels. And you look at the Game Awards nominations, and it's like all these indie games and all these one-off studio games get nominated because gamers are telling us we really like those. But the problem is, for each one of those that succeeds, there's 10 that don't. And the big publishers don't want to take the risk, so they don't make those games. They tend not to make those games. Occasionally they do, but it's really very occasionally. So I think the answer to your question is we're going to see fewer games. Worse, probably not. Worse because your selection is going to be lower, but the games themselves will be fine. And I think, we probably proved that out so far with Dragon Age. It's probably the highest rated game EA's had in 5 years. I mean, maybe Star Wars was higher, but they finally got one right. We didn't think that BioWare had it in them, and they did. So, I think by concentrating on what we know, I think that the publishers are more likely to be profitable and more likely to stay in business and more likely to keep people employed. But what you really are seeing with these layoffs is companies that are cutting stuff that they just don't think is going to work anymore. And I think that's okay. I mean, the industry is such that the console guys aren't really good at free-to-play, and the free-to-play guys aren't really good at console, and the number of successes is so small that it proves that point. It's rare that you get the Vince Zampella Respawn studio that can make a free-to-play game like Apex, and it works. Now we're hearing Michael Condrey, the 31st Union studio, is doing the same thing. They're doing a Overwatch-like free-to-play game. So I'm hopeful that works. Odds are it won't, but I hope it does. I like that guy, and he's a good game maker. But, man, it's hard to take risks. And so bottom line is, I think Take-Two will keep doing it for a while, but they just shut down, or they sold Private Division. That's kind of their little risky outfit for third-party indie kind of titles, and that's gone. I think that the model is you gotta swing for the fences and hit home runs, and that you can't score with singles anymore. And I think that's how the studios are thinking about it. So bottom line is, yes, fewer games, no, not worse quality, and yes, the impact is you have less choice. The impact of less choice is ultimately going to be that the upstarts are going to come up with things that work that nobody anticipated. And, I'd say this is like when everybody was a burger joint. The guy who came up with the chicken sandwich thrived because he was the only guy with a chicken sandwich. And so Chick-fil-A came out of nowhere, because McDonald's had a chicken sandwich and nobody liked it. They made nuggets, but they didn't have a chicken sandwich. And now, my God, everybody's got a fried chicken sandwich. Same. It's like when everybody was serving burgers, Taco Bell or Jack in the Box tacos came out of the woodwork and became a big business. So, you've got to give people what they want, but it's not necessarily going to be McDonald's that gives you tacos or the chicken sandwich. McDonald's is EA and Take-Two and Activision, and somebody else is going to figure this shit out and give us what we want. And they'll give us sushi or they'll give us chicken sandwiches. So I think it's fun. I would never worry about lack of innovation from the big guys. They won't innovate. They're too afraid. I would never worry about lack of innovation not happening, because as long as we have an incentive for someone to succeed with innovation, they will make the attempt, and somebody will succeed. If they come up with something we like, they will succeed. So I don't think it's really any more complicated than that. I think it's naive to think only the big guys can innovate. And when I first started covering video games, there were 11 publicly traded U.S. publishers, and there are now 2. I guess, yeah. I mean, you could call Playtika public, but in U.S., but they're really from Israel. But there's now 2. Take-Two and EA. So it's weird. 9 of them are just gone, absorbed, or out of business. And Glue got absorbed, and Acclaim went bankrupt, and Midway and THQ, and I could keep going. So does that mean that the number of games dropped by 90%? No. Other people backfilled and made stuff that was better. The Japanese kind of rose up, and Ubisoft rose up, and give it time. Don't worry. I think we'll continue to have innovation. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor. If you're a Patreon patron or you are a YouTube subscriber, thank you. Regardless of whether you are paying through one of those subscriptions, it would be great if you could remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. Amazon pays us for that. You do not get charged. Part of your Prime membership, it's free. You are taking advantage of your Amazon membership to get Shane, funded a bit so he can keep coming to my house and taping these things. So thank you for doing that. If you're doing neither of those, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter or on Blue Sky at Michael Pachter. We will see you next time.